News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Semper Fi. I'm your host, Mark Bonstein, or as I was commonly referred to as Staff Sergeant B. We'll get to my influential heroes in a second. First, we're going to see what happened this day in U.S. military history on January 12th. Year's already starting out fast. 1944, the Army U.S. 5th Army Forces, particularly the 34th Division, captures Cavero and advanced towards Casino. And in 1952, in the Air Force, F-84s caught 3 supply trains at Shangchao, racing for a shelter of a tunnel. And in 1953, in the Navy, landing tested on board the USS Antonina, the first angled deck carrier, the USS Antonina, a 2,700-ton class aircraft built at the Philadelphia Navy Yard, was commissioned on January of 1945. And in 1993 in the Marine Corps, the first U.S. KIA in Somalia Marine killed while on patrols in Mogadishu. And that's what happened on January 12th. Little segment on influential heroes today. This goes out to all the Staff Sergeant Gentilio, Sergeant Shannon, Sergeant Scott, and Sergeant Niver. So before I tell you who they are, I'll show you what I mean.
You burr-headed idiots do not appreciate my cheerful good morning. When my back is turned, you call me bad names. But I won't hear you call me bad names, because if I do, I'll go to the brig. But I'll be thinking about you people all the time. Do you hear me? Yes, sir! I can't hear you. Yes, sir!
You did what?
I enlisted in the Marines, sir.
What the hell did you do in my stay like that for?
I'm Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, your senior drill instructor. From now on, you will speak only when spoken to. And the first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be, sir. Do you maggots understand that?
Sir, yes, sir.
What did I say you are?
Sir, United States Marine Boots, sir.
I don't hear you.
Sir, United States Marine Boots, sir.
And don't you ever forget it.
In case you didn't catch on, it's about Marine drill instructors, or drill instructors in all the branches. But, you know, thanks to YouTube, I kind of favor the Marines, go figure. So today's influential heroes is on drill instructors. Doesn't go back to the actual date when drill instructors were considered officially, but they've been around for quite some time. The unsung heroes, the people we love to hate, people that molded our careers, those names that you heard were my drill instructors back in '77. The Marine drill instructors in the armed forces are known as military training instructors. That's in the Air Force. The Marines are drill instructors. In the Air Force, they're known as military training instructors. The U.S. Army refers to them as drill sergeants. And in the U.S. Navy, they're referred to as recruit division commanders, or RDCs. In the Coast Guard, they are referred to as company commanders. One of the historical facts about being a drill instructor and a drill sergeant is in the Marines, you could at that time, you could be a corporal and be a drill instructor, and in the Army, you had to be the rank of a sergeant. So this is 11 pages of drill instructors, and you know, we do have the 5 branches, and a lot of people say, why does it go Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard? And the theory behind that is they do it by the nutrition. There was a lot of people, the population all joined the Army, and then the next heavy populated is the Navy, Army, Navy, Air Force, then the Marine Corps, and the least amount of people is the Coast Guard. The U.S. Forces drill instructors are held responsible for the welfare, behavior, and the military education of the recruits assigned to them on a 24-hour basis throughout the period of initial training, of which most well known in basic training or boot camp. Their responsibilities include areas such as military discipline, physical fitness, and weapons training. The title of drill instructor is a billet independent of rank to be held by a non-commissioned officer who successfully completes the intense training program and earn that title. And in the Army, drill sergeants in the United States Army are E5s and E6s up to the rank of E7, and rarely master sergeants of an E8 statute. Drill instructors in the Marine Corps normally hold the rank of E5 through the rank of E7. A corporal is no longer authorized to attend drill instructor school. And one of the segments that you watched, the Boys in Company C, where it shows the drill instructor yelling, saying, "You did what?" In that one, there's a corporal that was a drill instructor. So at that time, they used to have, young people. So it kind of brings up, how old do you have to be a drill instructor? I don't know. Jeff, how old do you got to be a drill instructor? Little young, but no relation. YouTube, that's where I find all my information, is on YouTube. He just happened to be on there. That's all they got to be a drill instructor. Okay, so in the Marine Corps, it may be taken offensively by the U.S. Marine drill instructors referred to as drill sergeants, which is strategically an Army term in the American military, just as Marines may take offense being called a soldier. A lot of people may find the insult rude or discriminating. The only acceptable address to a drill instructor is by a recruit, is sir or ma'am. At the Officers Candidate School, they are instructed by the drill instructors have already served one tour or more at the recruit depots. The cadets, what their instructors are, they call them drill instructors. And name and rank of the platoon. The OCS, which stands for Officers Candidate School, they're known out there as a platoon sergeant. If you ever watched the movie Officer and a Gentleman with Lou Gossett Jr., he was known as the platoon sergeant. It is comparable to the senior drill instructor as an enlisted recruit platoon. And an initial phrase of training, officers candidates are trained in almost the same manner by the same people as enlisted Marines, with slightly different reflection and difference between the responsibilities. The candidates will have as second lieutenants, and those recruits will have as junior Marines. So at OCS, as there is a Marine staff sergeant, or at least the staff NCO, because they are training officers, there will be an officer around to make sure that things are stayed right where they should be. But a lot of drill instructors, they just don't get to go to OCS. They have to have a successful tour on the drill field. Got to have a glorified record to put in to be a drill instructor at OCS. It's just not something you can just put in and go do. The typical training day begins around 4 a.m. or 0400 and ends around 7:30 or 19:30 hours. So put in a lot of days of drill, PTing, and just running around. After completing a few 13-week cycle, the drill instructors is moved up to a position of accelerated drill instructors, an EDI. They weren't called that when I went in. They were also called the heavy, drill hat, or just J hat. We just knew them as the senior drill instructor, the JDI, which was the junior drill instructor, and sometimes the senior was referred to as the heavy because he had the most rank and he had the senior. He wore the Sam Brown belt which others wore the cartridge belt. And the J hat, that's a terminology that I didn't know about when I was in. And that's in the Marines. Now in the Army, in the U.S. Army, the soldier appropriate rank, usually staff sergeant and sergeant first class, may volunteer to be centrally selected by the U.S. Army Human Resource Command to attend drill sergeant school. Those centrally selected are known as DA Select, meaning Drill Department of Army Select Drill Sergeant School. It is a 10-week long and consists of extremely the same activities and basic drill and ceremonies, basic rifle marksmanships, obstacle confidence course, and field training exercises, training management and leadership. Certain aspects of the primary leadership course are included. Drill sergeants, students can be expected to be held in the highest standards while going through school. The drill sergeants are treated the same deal of professionalism, not like any new soldier. So that just goes on. The male drill sergeants wear the World War I campaign nicknamed the Brown Round. Same standard drill instructor hat, all the branches wear that. We call it the hat, the J hat, the Army calls it the Brown Round. The female drill sergeants wear the olive drab Australian bush cap, normally known as the cowgirl hats. It was just up till about 20 years ago that the female Marines used to wear their green barracks covers, and it was just up about 20 years ago that they now can wear the campaign covers. And maybe one day that they should all wear the same covers, personally. They're doing the same job, and I don't see why they should be exempt from it. That's just my opinion. Then we go to the Air Force. And the United States Air Force Basic Military Training, Air Force MTIs are known as commissioned officers, are non-commissioned officers ranging from Senior Airman E4 through Master Sergeant E7. They are trained at the Military Training Institute School at Lackman Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas. The course length has changed several times during its last decade, but generally includes a period of assignment to the senior instructor to observe training called bird dogging. The MTIs initially conduct basic training at Lackman Air Force Base as part of the 737th Training Group, but a select few conduct military training at the Officers Canada School at Maxwell Air Force Base. Academically, basics cadets training. I have a friend at work that he was a drill instructor in the Air Force, and he was telling me that his title of military training instructor, and I asked him why they didn't call them drill instructors, and he says they didn't spend as much time drilling as the Marines and the Army does. That theirs was more, they didn't have a big emphasis on training or drilling as we do. They did the obstacle course, they ran, but they didn't march them and drill as much as the Marines did, so they were called training instructors. They did a lot of book works. And in the Air Force, the MTIs are commonly identified by the Air Force blue campaign covers. So they wear the same cover, except theirs is blue. And if you've been down to Walmart here, you'll see a picture of a guy in the Air Force wearing his brown campaign cover. It's the same as ours, except his is brown. Going through DI school, I went through additional 8 weeks. Drill instructor school is 8 weeks long, and that was in San Diego, California when I went there. Their usually duty uniform is either the ABU or BDU they wear in case of the BDU's highly polished boots. In the case of a ABU, either sand-colored or sage green boots are worn. After completing the MTI schooling, they are awarded the time-honored campaign hat. After receiving their certificate as an instructor, they receive their Education and Training Command instructor badge for wear on the right side of their BDU blouse. So after we completed a successful tour in the drill field, you would get a drill instructor ribbon. It's same colors as our khaki trousers, the polyester trousers. It's green and a lighter color. I couldn't tell you the honest color because I didn't rate one. I didn't make it all the way through the drill instructor school. I wasn't a nice guy. So, but they get to wear a little badge on the right side indicating that they were a drill instructor. All we would get to wear is the ribbon stating that you were a drill instructor. I got a ribbon for being on Marine barracks in the Philippines back in the 70s. As you remember, one of my guests, he was Marine barracks as well. So they get to wear their service uniform, but not on the ABU. They have an MTI ribbon, which is also awarded, but may not be revoked if the MTI fails to successfully complete a tour of 4 years. We had a 2-year tour, and the common drill instructor would usually put through in 2 years be about equivalent to 6 or 7 platoons, or as they will call them, herds. So, all right, so now we get to the Coast Guard. The U.S. Coast Guard company commanders are usually E5s to E8s and are specially duty volunteers. Candidates attend company commander school at Cape May in New Jersey, which is correlated with recruit basic training. Upon completion, cadets then go in front of a board for final approval. Upon becoming a company commander, a CC, the Coast Guard guardsman earns the right to wear the company commander badge. Coast Guard recruit companies average 2 or 3 CCs per, with the new CC serving as an assistant to more experienced lead male and female CCs wear the World War I campaign cover again. So it sounds like when they're a junior and they wear their something different, like regular drill instructors, we wore the cartridge belt. Then the senior wears the sand brown, the shiny black belt I was talking about earlier. So all the different branches have the way they do it, but again, they wear the campaign cover. Theirs is blue as well. So at the end, the drill instructors will take a creed. Each branch has their own creed. They're kind of lengthy. I'm not going to bore everybody with this creed that you would take at the end, but it says that you are a drill sergeant, you are a drill instructor, and that you are, I will assist with individual and their efforts to become highly motivated, well-disciplined, physically and mentally fit soldier capable of defending an enemy on today's modern battlefield. I will instill pride and train pride and self in the Army and in the country. I will assist each soldier meets and maintains the Army standards of military bearing and courtesy consistent with the highest traditions of the U.S. Army. I will lead by example, never requiring a soldier's attempt at any task I would not do myself. But first, last and always, I am an American soldier sworn to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I am a drill sergeant. That's the way theirs ends. And I think the Marines is not as, because it's on 2 pages, it's not as wordy, I guess. These recruits are instructed to my care, and I will train them the best of my ability. Before you graduate, you got to remember this stuff verbatim, like we had to do drill movements. If you ever watch Tribes with Darren McGavitt, he goes through the 7 basic positions, position of attention. And then it goes on to, I will develop them into a smartly disciplined, physically fit, basic training Marine, thoroughly indoctrinated in love of corps and country. I will deem them, demand of them, and demonstrate my own experience with the highest standards of professional conduct, morality, and professional skills. But when we had to memorize the whole drill manual, I guess that in the end wasn't as much. So, see what else we have about the drill instructors. And like I said, we have our DI school was 8 weeks long. And we have the two. We have the recruit at Paris Island in South Carolina, where I went, and then where I went to drill instructor school was in San Diego. I was stationed there at the same time. And they are assigned to drill instructor school upon graduation. They are assigned to one of the recruit training battalions. Female instructors are only training at Paris Island because that is the only female place that we train females, was over in South Carolina. It is considered a B billet, which if you're going to stay in the military, at least in the Marines, if you're going to make it a career, you had to do a B billet, which is either drill instructor school, recruiting, or embassy duty, to be an embassy Marine. So if you planned on making the Marines a career, those were one of the three that you had to do. They didn't start getting that strenuous on it until right around the mid-90s, when they started really making that, if you're going to stay in, and you have to do one of these billets. So that's what was going on with that. So when we got into the different branches, and we have some popular culture. And this is always kind of fun, when we get a lot of things that we have, all these movies we watch. Drill instructors have, the reputation of unforgiving task measures. Excuse me. And they portray such as popular culture amongst the portrayals. The Air Force, you had Marin McCormick as Master Sergeant Oliver King in the 1958 series or movie No Time for Sergeants. And that was made in 1955. It was a Broadway production, same time, both opposite of Andy Griffith. It was a fun movie to watch, not making light of the Air Force. Then in the Army, you have Arlie Emery as an unnamed Sergeant First Class in a Coors Light commercial with the opposite footage of John Wayne. Have you ever seen that commercial? It's about 5 years old. It was a neat commercial. John Flynn as Sergeant Major McAllery in the 1989 movie Glory, and Gregory Hines as Sergeant First Class in the 1994 film Renaissance Man. And Warren Oates as Sergeant First Class Holka in the 1981 movie Stripes. Christopher Walken as Sergeant First Class Toonley in the 1988 film Block C Blues. That was a good movie. Hal Williams as Sergeant First Class L.C. Lady Ted Ross in both of the 1980 film Private Benjamin. And in 1981 up to 1983 in the same series, he was the drill instructor in Private Benjamin, and then he did the TV series. And Sam Elliott as Sergeant Major Brazel A. Prumley in the 2002 film We Were Soldiers. And this is a rare one I didn't know. Don Adams, who played as Maxwell Smart in the 19 television 60s Get Smart, served as a Marine drill instructor in World War II after serving in Guadalcanal. He never looked that old to even have been in the Guadalcanal, leave alone he was a drill instructor. When you seen him in Get Smart, he never struck me as that kind. And Clint Eastwood played Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Highway in the film Heartbreak Ridge. His character was a recon platoon sergeant, which is not a drill instructor position, but the character was portrayed as a drill instructor. And he was really more or less a platoon sergeant / company gunny. And R. Lee, who served with the U.S. Marine drill instructors in 1965 and 1967 as Staff Sergeant Lois in the 1978 film Boys in Company C. That's the one where you see the back of the one drill instructor, Hispanic, yelling, "You did what?" Arlie is in that movie as well as a drill instructor. And then Gunnery Sergeant Hartman played in the movie 1987 Full Metal Jacket, which you heard him just recently. Master Sergeant Hines, deceased in the 1996 film The Firefighters. Okay. And Sergeant Major Sons in the second series episode of Jag. I think he was that, I don't really watch, never really watched Jag all that much. And Lewis Gossett Jr. played Gunnery Sergeant Foley in the 1982 Officer and a Gentleman. Scott McDonald is a drill instructor Finch in the 2005 film Jarhead. Darren McGavith as Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Drake opposite Michael Jan Vincent in the 1970 film Tribes. That's the one where you heard him say, "You were a Marine private and don't you ever forget it." And Frank Sutton as Gunnery Sergeant Vince Carter in 1964 to 1969 series of Gomer Pyle. And Jack Webb as Tech Sergeant Jim Moore in the 1957 series The D.I. And one note with running out of time, in the U.S. Navy, Robert De Niro plays Chief Petty Officer Billy Sunday in the 2000 film Men of Honor. And Don Rickles played in a movie called Chief Petty Officer, or Chief Petty Officer Otto, or Seymour Sharkley in the 1967 movie Chief Petty Officer. So if you go down, you see that drill instructors have a very long history. It's a thankless job. At the end, you will get somebody that, we all did, and go up and shake your drill instructor's hand and tell them thanks for squaring you away. Because when you come in, if you ever watch the movie with D.I., Jack Webb says, 8 weeks to finish what Mommy never did. So not saying parents don't do their jobs, we do, but the military just kind of fine-tunes you. So don't take offense to what I said about us doing our jobs as parents. It's tough enough. So we're coming down to another episode. So if you got a story, I want to hear it. Give me a call at 513-2056. You want to be a host on Semper Fi. Until next week, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you then. Semper Fi and hoorah.